Want to stay informed about what's happening in our community? Welcome to Consider the Source, where we break down the biggest stories of the week and hear more from more reporters bringing you the coverage. Remember that the Source is online all the time, and you can follow our coverage at stthomassource.com, stcroixsource.com, and stjohnsource.com. I'm your host, Adisha Penn. Let's get to the headlines. And topping the newscast, nearly 3 weeks after VI police officer Eustace Charles was ambushed and killed outside his Williams Delight home, that same home has now been destroyed by fire. The latest developments surrounding a homicide investigation that has already taken several turns. Charles was shot multiple times July 26 as he left home to report for duty on Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach's security detail. Within hours, investigators had used surveillance cameras to track vehicles believed to have been involved, detained several people as persons of interest, executed search warrants, and recovered multiple firearms. One man, Raquel Velasquez, was arrested after police tracked a black Hyundai matching the description of a vehicle allegedly used by Charles's attackers. Court documents say Velasquez later fled another vehicle carrying an AM-15 rifle. He was charged with illegal gun possession, not Charles's murder. Police also sought Angel Rodriguez III for questioning in the investigation. VIPD later said Rodriguez was interviewed and provided an alibi. Days later, Rodriguez himself was shot and killed outside VI Superior Court on St. Croix following a hearing in an unrelated case. Now, Charles's home has burned. Police say the residence was unoccupied when it was engulfed in flames late Thursday, and the cause remains under investigation. Authorities have not publicly linked the fire or Rodriguez's killing to Charles's murder, and despite the persons of interest, recovered weapons, and multi-agency investigation, no one has yet been charged with killing Officer Eustace Charles, though authorities are asking the community to come forward with any information they might have. WAPA is buying itself more time to deal with tens of millions of dollars in debt, including money borrowed nearly 5 years ago to pay for generators at the Randolph-Harley Power Plant. The Utilities Governing Board approved spending up to $500,000 Thursday to extend bond anticipation notes that were coming due, debt that was originally intended to be short-term. WAPA borrowed $34.5 million through those notes in 2021 to make the final payment on 3 Wärtsilä generators, and nearly another $40 million through 2 series of notes in 2024. Officials say the extension gives WAPA more time to negotiate refinancing while limiting additional costs. But it comes as the utility continues to carry a significant debt burden. Just one day earlier, CEO Carl Knight told senators WAPA expects to spend about $29.5 million on debt service in fiscal year 2027, its 4th largest expense behind fuel, operations, and personnel. And when senators asked about the 2021 notes, CFO Lorraine Kelly acknowledged they had already been scheduled to mature July 1st and were being renewed. Board Chairman Maurice Moyer later told the source that WAPA continues paying interest to its bondholders and acknowledged the principal will eventually have to be paid. As for how WAPA gets there, Moyer said, right now there isn't a clear and direct path to that. The University of the Virgin Islands is working against a September 1st deadline to prove why it should keep its accreditation. For now, UVI remains accredited, but the Middle States Commission on Higher Education placed the university on show cause status in June, raising concerns about its financial health and governance. The university must now provide evidence that it has adequate financial resources, a sustainable budget, and responsible fiscal management, along with several years of audited financial statements. President Sophia George told trustees during a meeting Tuesday that teams are working nights and weekends to catch up on those audits. UVI is currently working on its fiscal year 2022 financial statements. A draft of the university's response is also being reviewed by leadership and outside counsel. Trustees have now approved a limited procurement exemption allowing UVI to more quickly bring in accreditation experts and technical advisors to help address the Commission's concerns. After the September 1st report, a Middle States team will visit UVI on September 24th, followed by a November appearance before the Commission, when university leaders will make their case for continued accreditation. A controversial mega yacht marina proposal proposed for Coral Bay is heading back to federal court, this time over allegations that the permitting process itself was flawed. Save Coral Bay, the Coral Bay Community Council, and St. John resident David Silverman filed suit Monday, asking a federal judge to throw out permits the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers approved in April for the Summer's End Marina. The 127-slip project has been in the works since 2014 and would bring a mega yacht marina, boardwalk, restaurant, fueling facilities, and other commercial development to Coral Bay Harbor. But the new 50-page lawsuit alleges the Army Corps relied on outdated permits, failed to adequately consider environmental and navigational impacts, denied requests for a public hearing, and ultimately approved the project despite overwhelming public opposition. According to court records, the Corps received more than 27,000 letters and 7,500 petition signatures opposing the project, compared with just 13 letters in support. The lawsuit also raises questions about political influence. Opponents point to a $25,000 campaign contribution made in 2023 by a person associated with Summer's End to then Congressman Garrett Graves of Louisiana. This suit alleges Graves later advocated for the project with federal agencies reviewing it. The lawsuit does not establish that the contribution influenced the permitting decision, but plaintiffs argue the Corps' review subsequently shifted toward greater coordination with the developer and less independent scrutiny. The plaintiffs are now asking a federal judge to vacate the federal permits, alleging violations of the Endangered Species Act, National Environmental Policy Act, and Administrative Procedure Act, among other things. The Army Corps has not responded to the allegations as of Wednesday afternoon. Much more news on our VI Source sites and to come, but it's time for a quick break, so stay tuned. We've got more after these messages from the Bank of St. Croix.
Good day, and welcome to part 2 of our credit education series. I'm Nathan Perdome with Bank of St. Croix, and as we discussed in part 1, your credit score plays an important role in many financial decisions. The good news is that staying informed has never been easier. There are many options available to monitor your credit, and today I will be demonstrating My Credit Score, which is available to Bank of St. Croix customers through Bank of St. Croix's online banking platform and mobile app. If it's your first time using the feature, log into Bank of St. Croix online or your mobile app. Select My Credit Score and complete the enrollment process. It only takes a minute or two. Once enrolled, you'll have secure, unlimited access to your credit information at no cost. Your dashboard displays your current credit score, recent changes, and an analysis of key factors influencing your score. You can also review your credit report, receive alerts about important changes, and use the simulator to see how actions like paying down debt or opening a new account could affect your score over time. Best of all, checking your score through My Credit Score platform is considered a soft inquiry, so it will not impact your credit score. At Bank of St. Croix, we believe better information leads to better financial decisions, and actively monitoring your credit gives you the information needed to help you reach your financial goals.
Welcome back. And it's time for us to check in with Source reporter Jesse Daly, who has details on what we can expect weather-wise in the days ahead.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Jesse Daly here, and welcome to your Virgin Island Source weekly weather update for this week, beginning Sunday, August 16th through next Saturday, August 22nd, for the beautiful U.S. Virgin Islands. We finally have had a little bit of rain in the last few days, and the Atlantic Basin has been busier. Let's take a look at what's going on out in the tropics, and we'll, of course, take a look at our forecast for the week ahead. Alrighty, my friends, I hope you're doing very well out there across the beautiful U.S. Virgin Islands. We're looking at a graphic courtesy of the Weather Channel, and we can expect to have a chance of rainfall early on in the forecast period. This moisture is associated with a tropical wave called Invest 92L. We'll talk more about that in a minute. We could also have more rain at the end of the week due to another tropical wave. However, as things stand as of Friday, August 14th, During this week, the National Weather Service expects variable conditions with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, and it will also be windy out there. Temperatures will remain very, very warm, and heat alerts could be issued again this week due to the risk of excessive heat. So please make sure that you're staying cool and staying hydrated. Daytime high temperatures this week will be in the upper 80s to low 90s Fahrenheit, around 31 degrees Celsius, and nighttime low temperatures will be in the low 80s Fahrenheit, around 27 degrees Celsius. Fire weather remains a major concern, especially across areas of southern Puerto Rico and St. Croix, due to ongoing drought conditions and windy conditions as well. For our surfer, sailor, and swimmer friends out there, the current water temperature is approximately 85 degrees Fahrenheit, about 29 degrees Celsius. The National Weather Service explained that small craft advisories and high rip current alerts will be in effect at the start of this forecast period, and we could also see some rainfall and thunderstorms associated with tropical waves. Please be very careful if you're in the water and make sure that you understand how to escape the pull of a rip current if you're ever caught in one. And finally, for our Tropic Watch, my friends, as of Friday, August 14th, the National Hurricane Center is monitoring 2 areas across the Atlantic Basin. Invest 92L, which is expected to approach the USVI around Saturday, August 15th at night, and we could see some rainfall and thunderstorms from the system through Sunday and Monday, although most of the precipitation is expected to remain south of the local islands. The National Hurricane Center is also watching Invest 94L, located behind Invest 92L, and this wave could approach the region later in the week. There is a lot of uncertainty, my friends, about both of these waves and their potential ability to intensify. The overall environment is quite hostile. There's a lot of dry air and wind shear across the Atlantic Basin, but again, things can change very, very quickly. So please make sure that you're staying prepared and follow the National Hurricane Center. And of course, consider signing up for emergency alerts from the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency. My friends, thank you so much for watching this video. Please follow me over at the Source Weather page. That is where you'll find me hanging out at and updating the weather. And please make sure that you follow the National Weather Service in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the National Hurricane Center. The experts over at those agencies know what they're talking about, and they are fantastic. And until we meet again, I hope you stay safe out there and have some fun out there. And as always, I will keep an eye on the tropical skies come rain or shine.
And Senate budget hearings continue this week, with the VI Police Department asking lawmakers for $73.6 million next fiscal year, as concerns over overtime, staffing, and millions in unspent federal funding took center stage. VIPD spent more than $16 million on overtime in 2025 and expects to spend another $15.6 million this year. But while the department says it needs at least $8 million for overtime next year, the proposed budget includes just $6 million, an amount VIPD officials acknowledge will not be enough. At the same time, lawmakers questioned why roughly $38 million in federal grant funding remains unspent. VIPD says much of that money is tied to multi-year projects, including surveillance cameras, license plate readers, and drones, but Senator Kurt Viale called the recurring backlog totally ridiculous. And staffing remains a major concern. VIPD has 59 vacancies, lost more employees that it hired this year, and another 95 employees are eligible for retirement. Commissioner Mario Brooks said current starting salaries are making recruitment difficult, telling lawmakers simply that the starting salary needs to be raised. Take a look.
How's the morale at VIPD, Commissioner?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Brooks. So, full transparency, I think it is an ebb and flow when it comes to morale with the Virgin Islands Police Department. And it's understandable. It's quite a difficult career that these individuals have taken. There are moments when the morale is high, whether it's a win, and I use a win, i.e. we have a an officer or we made a substantial contribution to the community is pleased by it, they support us. Whether it's by we have an event, they come out and they support us, and then there are times when something occurs that basically causes a reduction in the morale. So there's an ebb and flow. So if I had to say it's where I would like it to be, no, it's not.
Lawmakers also pressed the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs for answers as Virgin Islanders continued paying significantly more at the pump, and an investigation into why drags on. DLCA on Monday said regular gasoline jumped from an average $4.23 a gallon in February to $5.11 by early June, while diesel climbed to $6.20 territory-wide, and more than $7 a gallon on St. Thomas. More troubling, retail prices rose far faster than wholesale costs. Regular wholesale prices increased just 3.8% during part of that period, compared with a roughly 21% increase at the pump. DLCA has subpoenaed financial records from 55 gas stations and marinas to determine whether those increases can be explained by legitimate costs. The agency stresses it has not found that retailers broke the law, but months after those subpoenas went out, some businesses still have not turned over all the requested records. That delay drew sharp criticism from lawmakers, who also questioned why competing stations across the territory often charge similar prices. DLCA says preliminary findings could come within 90 days. Let's hear more.
How are we going to get to where that margin or that gap is to understand why the markup is so high as it is? I know there are some trackers, consumer gas tracking softwares that exist. I don't know if those tie into a database that the DLCA would otherwise want to monitor. Are you familiar with any of these types of databases?
Not presently. So our fuel price trackers that we use are our team members that survey the cost of fuel or the prices that fuel is held out at throughout the territory. So our team members are the ones that actually go through and
so this is a manual process.
This is a manual process.
There is no software or database that would require the gas stations to be connected to give live information concerning their fuel costs. So there's no gas tracking.
Not mandated by the legislature of the Virgin Islands to date.
I really think that something like that would be beneficial. That would be able to provide live data to DLCA. I've been doing a little research on it, and they're called consumer gas price trackers. That's all. I've only gotten that far, but if something like that existed, I think it would really provide you with the live data that you need, rather than having to go through this very gruesome process.
Yeah, and Senator, again, Horace Graham, Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, the discussion, or part of my testimony, at the latter part, I did say that that there may be some room for legislative action that would allow, and I noted specifically not just the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, because we recognize that there's a research component to this. Maybe the University of the Virgin Islands, the BER, with some of our partners, to be able to have real-time information regarding the different commodities that are held out for sale in the Virgin Islands. So this fuel being one of the more critical ones, I think that anything that the Senate can do to allow that kind of transparency and immediate access to that information would be well appreciated.
And the first week of public school brought students back to classrooms across the territory, but also renewed questions about the aging infrastructure keeping those schools running. On opening day, Bureau of School Correction and Maintenance Executive Director Craig Benjamin was at Charlotte Amalie High School, working through water problems there and at several other campuses. Air conditioning issues also remain, including aging components connected to newer units that now need replacement. Still, Benjamin said campuses overall are in better shape than when he took over the bureau last year, while Education Commissioner Dion Wells-Hendrington pointed to a broader transformation underway, including the new Arthur A. Richards Pre-K through 8 school, phase school consolidations, and the expansion of the department's Champion Schools initiative. Listen to this.
One of the things that I realized from sitting in this seat and having the experience of sitting as a superintendent is that if we want to see change, change begins in the classroom. I also recognize that our leaders, meaning our school administrators, needed additional support on being more effective at instructional leadership. And so with the limited funding that I had last year, I was able to begin a leadership cohort with 6 schools, 3 in the St. Thomas St. John district and 3 in St. Croix. So the schools in St. Thomas St. John district are Julius E. Sprouse School, Joseph Gomez, and Ola F. Mala Elementary. In St. Croix, we have Colado Marco, Alfredo Andrews, and Eulalie Rivera. And those 6 schools participated in extensive training on pedagogical skills, on effectively leading instructions for our leaders, on the multi-tiered systems of support, and all of the things that would surround the whole child.
And while education works through its own infrastructure challenges, another agency critical to keeping those schools and the rest of the territory running was before lawmakers this week. The Water and Power Authority faced questions over its proposed budget, mounting debt, and the reliability of the territory's electrical system. And those infrastructure challenges extend well beyond the territory's schools. WAPA presented a $316.7 million operating budget to lawmakers this week, but much of the hearing centered on what customers already know too well: recurring outages, aging equipment, and a power system that remains vulnerable. CEO Carl Knight acknowledged that years of deferred maintenance have caught up with the utility. Key generating units remain down, including Unit 15, which can dramatically shorten restoration time after a complete shutdown. WAPA is now inspecting that unit to determine whether it can even be repaired, while other generators and temporary power are not expected online for months. Financially, WAPA says its debt has fallen from roughly $254 million to $207 million, but fuel alone is projected to cost $121.5 million next year, with another $29.5 million going toward debt service. And Knight warned that until critical generators are repaired and new generation comes online, St. Thomas will remain in what he called a very tender capacity situation. And it's time for a quick break, but stay tuned after these messages from the Bank of St. Croix.
Good day, and welcome to part 2 of our credit education series. I'm Nathan Perdome with Bank of St. Croix, and as we discussed in part 1, your credit score plays an important role in many financial decisions. The good news is that staying informed has never been easier. There are many options available to monitor your credit, and today I will be demonstrating My Credit Score, which is available to Bank of St. Croix customers through Bank of St. Croix's online banking platform and mobile app. If it's your first time using the feature, log into Bank of St. Croix online or your mobile app. Select My Credit Score and complete the enrollment process. It only takes a minute or 2. Once enrolled, you'll have secure, unlimited access to your credit information at no cost. Your dashboard displays your current credit score, recent changes, and an analysis of key factors influencing your score. You can also review your credit report, receive alerts about important changes, and use the simulator to see how actions like paying down debt or opening a new account could affect your score over time. Best of all, checking your score through My Credit Score platform is considered a soft inquiry, so it will not impact your credit score. At Bank of St. Croix, we believe better information leads to better financial decisions, and actively monitoring your credit gives you the information needed to help you reach your financial goals.
And welcome back. over the past few weeks, our in-studio team has been getting out into the field, including a visit to UVI's Ocean Glider Lab, where researchers are using autonomous underwater vehicles to listen for whales and dolphins beneath the waters of the Eastern Caribbean. The gliders can spend weeks at sea recording marine mammal calls, helping scientists build a clearer picture of what species are moving through our waters and when. Now, researchers are also asking the public to get involved with a citizen science project that allows boaters, fishermen, and anyone out on the water to report their own whale and dolphin sightings. Here's a look behind the scenes at some pretty incredible research happening right here in the Virgin Islands.
We've got an ocean glider lab here. This is an ocean glider. I started using these with some collaborators from Rutgers University, and I think around 2018 we brought them down here and began to deploy them. We're doing a lot of hurricane studies. One of the things that we've learned is one way to improve hurricane forecasts is to do a better job of measuring the ocean, because the ocean, I think most of you know, it's the heat in the ocean, it's the accessibility of that heat that drives the intensification of hurricanes. And so if NOAA, for example, wants to model that, they need a very good ocean model to drive the atmospheric hurricane model. And this is what these can do. And it's collecting temperature and salinity data, and those are the key things, for example, that we need for hurricane forecasting. Along the way, it's also collecting current data, measures currents. It's collecting dissolved oxygen. It's got a sensor here, so that's a little bit of a biological indicator that it's collecting data for. And we did a 3-year program. We've got another 3-year program just starting to really collect acoustic data and identify the types of whales, where they are, how often they're here. I mean, that's the cool thing about these acoustic signals, is that a particular species of whale has a very characteristic call, and you can look at the acoustic signature that this records, and you can identify that as a particular type of whale in a particular place. One of the things we discovered is that you talk to people and they go, oh yeah, I've seen a whale. It was over there about 3 years ago. That's not very good science, right? So how can we capture that and tie that in with the measurements that we're making here? And so we came up with this a citizen science app, where if you see a whale, if you see a spout, if you see a whale, you can take a picture would be best, but just recording it, recording the position, and any information that you have about that sighting, hopefully we can correlate that with some of our data, and we'll get a better idea of what types, when, and where.
This database is completely free and accessible to the public. Anybody can go online to anecdata.org, this website here, and find our database called Marine Mammal ID for the Virgin Islands of Puerto Rico. They can also download an app, Anecdata, through Apple or Android, and they can find this as well. They can use this to record observations or sightings of marine mammals, including whales and dolphins, in the region, either during an observation, during a sighting where they see something, or afterwards, so you can go back and record something after the fact.
Thanks for joining us this week, and remember, there's also so much more to read on our VI Source sites. Log on and get your news with us first, and stay tuned on social for updates at the top of each hour. Keep informed, and until next time, I'm Adisha Penn.